Hi, it's Hazel, and welcome to my channel, Hazel and Aka Design. If you are wondering about this setup, I wanted to make sure that you got your daily dose of vitamin purple. And I also wanted to give you kind of an in-your-face clue that this video will be all talk and no action. I hope that you stick around. By the time this is done, I'll be telling you how you can get a little gift from me. My friend Carol from Crinkled Path has described my channel or my approach as wit and wisdom. And that, of course, is a lovely compliment. And I know that there are others of you who agree and who and that's why you keep coming back. So I'm truly grateful for you and for that that what I'm doing is resonating with you. Now, as I said, I'll be talking, not doing, but I thought I would, again, pull together some purple elements here. Most of you know that it's one of my favorite colors. This is a journal that I did much of it on video, and I love it, and it's here. This is the original logo that I had created long before I had a channel. And this is a chunk of amethyst that I keep on my laptop because it's one of those gemstones that is supposed to sort of minimize the harmful, I don't know, what are they, microwaves, radio wave, some kind of emissions or emanations from technology. Does it work? I don't know. I also have beside me a cup of tea. I've tried this one. I just cracked this box open, pomegranate raspberry by Stash. So we'll see. Oh, it's classified as a green tea. Didn't know that. Anyway, if you notice the occasional pause, that's me taking a sip. Okay, so why this video? Well, many of you know that I like ironing. One reason is that I don't want to go through life all crumpled and creased. But the other thing, the best benefit of ironing, in my opinion, is that it is one of those mindless, automatic activities that allow us to tap into the more creative side of our brain. It's a meditative activity. I don't know if there are any people out there still hand washing dishes, but apparently that is similar. And this morning, as I was doing some sewing, it occurred to me that sewing in silence is another meditative activity, because it was during that sewing experience, which is nothing great at all, that the idea for this video kind of congealed. So what I did was I headed back to my computer and created kind of a 10-point plan, a 10-point reminder, cheat sheet, whatever you want to call it, about some of the things that I think we need to consider. And as I said, if you stick it out to the end, you will find out how to get a copy of this for yourself. I could, put it at show you the thing at the end, and you could do a screensaver or whatever, a screenshot. However, it's a pretty dense document, and why should you have to retype that or look through your photos to find it? So anyway, that's probably enough preamble already. So what came to me as I was sewing? Well, a few things, and they will be covered as I go through these points. So the first thing that I'm saying, okay, what I'm calling this document is 10, in brackets, Aspirational Best Practices Studio Version. So we know that in the corporate world and in the world of healthcare, there's a lot of lingo, there's a lot of acronyms, there are a lot of, insider jargon. And I think sometimes it's shorthand, but it's also maybe a way of keeping others out. But best practices is commonly understood to be kind of, I don't want to say a minimum, but maybe in a sense it is a minimum. You want to do all of these things because that's sort of the basis of what being a good hospital or a good corporation is. So in the case of a hospital, maybe one of their primary things that is measured, are you following best practices, is do you have your infection controls in place and preventing as much infection as possible. Simple example, I think everyone, because this term has become a cliche, I think everyone understands what it means. So then I thought to myself, okay, maybe we can establish some best practices for ourselves. And I'm calling it aspirational because I don't want any of you out there to believe that I, in any way, shape, or form, have all of my ducks in a row, that I have all the answers. Hell, I don't even know most of the questions a lot of the time. So it's aspirational for me. I may be further along on the journey than some of you. I may be years behind other of yous. I may be behind other of you by years. The point is that no matter where we are on the continuum, where we are on this journey of creativity and so on, we have things to learn and we have things to teach. We can learn from each other and we can teach each other. So this is just my version of some of the things that I think are important and that I have maybe learned the hard way that a person needs to focus on. So, number one, I'm saying get off the hamster wheel and seek out silence. So I could have turned on the TV. I have a TV in my studio, I think, as most of us do. I could have turned on the TV and tried to catch up with somebody's videos or watched another episode of Netflix or watched the angst that is unfolding by the introduction of tariffs on Canadians. But instead, I just worked in silence. And it was through that working in silence, excuse me, a sip, that this idea came. Throughout history, there have been people, now I wish I could name drop a few just off the top of my head, unfortunately I can't, but they're some of the greatest results or advancements or creations of all time across a wide range of fields has been when some good minds have chosen to isolate themselves in silence. And that's, not going on a retreat or whatever necessarily. It's a daily practice. I wish I could think of the guy who would say to his assistant, I'm going to sit for ideas. So we have to shut out all the noise, all the distractions, all the hubbub, the good news, the bad news, the everything around us, so that we can determine what in the world, if anything, is rattling around in our own heads. What have we maybe not allowed ourselves to think about or look too closely at because it's easier to turn on the tube, to look at our phones, to crank up the music or whatever. So we know that the benefits of a meditation practice are many and they're documented and all of that. I know that I myself have tried that, several times over my lifetime. When I did it, when I was mindful enough and focused enough to actually carve out time to do that, and it doesn't have to be, you don't have to sit around navel gazing for half a day. It can be as little as, 10 or 20 minutes. I felt better. I felt more creative. I felt more zen. That may not be possible. And frankly, I think I'm too busy to do that. All I'm saying, and again, I'm talking to myself, if any of this resonates with you, run with the idea. Share the idea, talk about the idea, think about the idea. But essentially, I'm speaking to myself. So that's number one. Number two, find the sweet spot between leaving my creative options open and decision paralysis. So I was prepping, I had a bunch of envelopes, just envelopes that came with cards that must have at some point in their lives been dampened. So of course, we know what happens when glue gets wet. Those envelopes got sealed. Now, maybe, a more time-conscious person would have thrown them in the garbage and thought, okay, well, that's a loss. But we are creative souls, and we're going to find a way to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. So I had a whole stack of them, and I have been gradually covering them and thought they would be a show and tell type video at some point. Sorry about the cough. And I thought that when I do that video, I'm going to be saying to people, I took these things as far as I was able to, or as far as I wanted to when I created them. And what I mean by finding the sweet spot is we can never begin because, well, what if that idea has been done? Or I don't know how I would finish it, or I don't have everything I need to do it. Sometimes I think we're afraid to even do the preliminary steps, thinking that every single piece, even though it doesn't look like that on Instagram, every single piece we create does not have to be completed to the nth degree before we share it with the world. We don't have to have every scrap of lace glued on. We don't have to have the slow stitching added and the label affixed and the inking done. We don't have to do all that. It's fine just to have an envelope covered with a nice picture. This is valid in itself. Sometimes, and I think this is especially true of beginners, I know it was for me, we think, okay, I've got these few precious things. I've got these digitals that I bought, and these books, these vintage books that I have, and so-and-so uses this, and so-and-so uses that, and now I finally have some. What am I going to do with it? Well, I could do this, or I could do this. I could do a journal, or I could do a folio. I could make tags, or I could do a masterboard. I could slow stitch around it, or I could glue it all down. I could laminate it. Yeah, and we can get dizzy and paralyzed by trying to presuppose, trying to second guess, trying to anticipate what is the one best thing to do. There is no one best thing to do. There are gazillions of options, and they're all good. That's what I mean with number 2. Number 3, do those little things that save time in the long run. And I gave a few examples. So as I was stitching, I ran into a problem. So yes, sewing can be a Zen activity, a meditative activity until something goes wrong. So I had a bunch of, I'm thinking this is old, or some of it is old book paper, you know, like, what do you call them? End papers. Really nice paper, obviously. And I, at some point, who knows when, because I love napkins, I had glued a number of napkins onto these pages. And just because it adds a decorative something and because it helps make sure the edges stay down, I thought, okay, let me sew all these things. So again, to save time, I just picked a blue thread. Kind of, a navy thread, navy colored thread. And things were going along swimmingly until they weren't. And let me see if I can show you a boo-boo of some sort. Okay, right here. So you can see that this is torn. I got an issue here, but it's not the end of the world. These things are oversized, and I can remedy that either with washi or something else. So that's not bad. Then this one, which is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. I tried several times to get going in one corner, and you can see I have a tear there as well. The bobbin was acting up, the thread, the top thread never broke, but there was that, you know, that crunching and grinding sound, which is never a good thing. And then I'm thinking, okay, when was the last time I actually changed my needle? So that's what I mean by some of the simple things. We can proactively change the needle that we have on our sewing machine before it causes grief. Now, as it turned out, that was not the issue here. However, I could have continued perforating the paper, making a, well, maybe that lemon one was the worst one. Could have continued struggling, but I just took the time to, number one, rewrote the bobbin a couple of times. I changed bobbins once, and then I rethreaded the sewing machine, and that was when things got better. So sometimes just doing some of that basic maintenance, you know, like maybe taking the little lint brush and getting into some of those nooks and crannies, and because we know that sewing on paper is kind of hard on our machines. So another example of doing the little things is keeping the software updated on my phone, my laptop, and other tech tools. I'm not sure when this video will air. I'm not sure how much hand wringing I did in previous videos that you may or may not have seen about the fact that I was getting a warning message that my storage on my laptop was almost full. And that sent me into a tizzy of several days and a few $100s. So tech is wonderful, but it does need some TLC every so often. We do have to make sure that we are sort of keeping our updates, our software updates, you know, updated. And we need to do those other less glamorous, the non-sexy, the non, you know, the nuts and bolts kind of activities in our studio that allow the creativity to continue. And tied in with that is another example, which is doing regular backups of my system and following the rule of 3. So my laptop is a 2019, so that's getting to be like a senior citizen in the world of technology. That's 6 years old, for heaven's sakes. So we know that there's a finite amount of storage built into any kind of a device. There is no way to increase the storage space on a device like a laptop. So it's a case of managing, so unsubscribing to those dumb videos, or dumb, videos are never dumb, to those dumb emails that we never open, but they're still using up space. Getting rid of some of those less than perfect photos we've taken, and doing some management of our storage space. But we also need to do backups to an external device, either to little zip drives, thumb drives, USB drives, whatever you want to call it, plus the bigger, external hard drives. And again, I learned that when it appeared that things were on the verge of ending poorly for me. And the rule of 3 is simply that if something is very important to us, we should make sure that we have it in 3 separate places. So it could be on our device's hard drive, it could be on a thumb drive, it could be on an external, I'm talking about the big ones, the 4 terabyte or so, bigger external drives. And of course, if we're, inventing the cure for cancer or something, we would want those backups to be stored off-site and somewhere safe. So in case the worst thing happened, catastrophic event like a fire or whatever, you don't lose everything. And then the other example, and this ties in perfectly with what Kara Brandon was doing all of January with her thing on decluttering, is what I call keeping up with the filing. So, of course, I have this stack of, those envelopes that I've done. I showed you a fistful of these things. Well, right now, and again, I'm using them as props here, but when this video is over, I had better put them where they belong, or they continue, or the mountains around us grow bigger and bigger. We can't find them when we need them. We forgot we made them. And it's such a huge time waster. So that, for me especially, is a challenge, and it's an ongoing process. I kind of, and maybe this is, in the personal development realm, there's an expression called, there's a sentiment about when we change how we think, everything changes. So I need to convince myself that filing is every bit, every bit as an important activity here in my studio as the act of creation is. Because without both of those things happening together, I'm either creating extra work for myself or extra expense or both, and upping my frustration level. Oh, let me just tell you one other thing. So I thought, wouldn't it be nice if I started having my, that's HA, but obviously Hazel and Aka design name front and center here. Now, I know some people with more skill than I managed to put that on their videos, and maybe my something or other, maybe my thumbnail thing appears. I don't know. Anyway, so I thought, make it more resilient, print it on cardstock. So I picked the right tray in my Epson printer, cardstock. Well, it comes out on sort of this creamy colored paper, because I didn't check to see what color it was. So that's fine. That's not the end of the world. I will reuse this. However, had I looked more carefully, I would have seen that there is obviously 1 or maybe 2 print nozzles that need cleaning. But because I didn't, I managed to print a second one with the same darn issue. I have printed entire digital purchases with a plugged nozzle on it. You've heard me talk about that before. So again, the little things, paying attention to the little things, not being so wound up and in a hurry all the time, multitasking, that a person forgets to do some of those little things. Okay, let's move on. Number 4, trust my gut. I think that primarily, I would say primarily my audience, and your audience, if you have a YouTube channel, is female. We know that females tend to have intuition and gut feelings, and I think I just included that one because as a reminder to myself and perhaps to you that we need to honor that gift that most of us possess. So, and the only way to hear our gut or to find out what's rattling around in our heads is to stop and listen, to stop and pay attention. I don't think most of us would have to think more than a few seconds to come up with a real life example of a case or a dozen cases where we have pushed down, ignored, obliterated a niggling feeling, I don't want to say disturbing, but a thought that keeps coming back that this doesn't feel right. And that could be in your choice of, an intimate partner. It could be maybe how you're managing your money, or it can be, am I on the right creative journey? So again, bit of a no-brainer. Let's just listen. Let's take advantage of the tools that are within us. Okay, number 5, ensure I'm not a slave to my tools, my schedule, or my history. Seek to make them work for me rather than vice versa. I think quite often, certainly I've gotten better over time, over the course of my lifetime. I'm not just talking, recently. I have gotten better at understanding. And of course, how do we learn anything? By making mistakes. If in the past, if I've gotten interested in something, I feel like, I have to buy every book that explains. I need to buy the tools to make this, whatever it is, possible. That is a lot of consumerism. That is a lot of money invested. And this is an aside, but I always considered that the best investment I can make is in myself, in education courses, growing and evolving as a human being. But aside from that, we don't need to have the latest, greatest stuff. We don't need to have everything that comes on the market. And I've talked about this before in the sense that for more than 25 years, my mom was a Sears catalog agent. And in small town Canada, don't know how it is elsewhere, a condition of getting a catalog operation was that you have to have an existing business because no one could survive on catalog commissions alone. And presumably it was a symbiotic relationship. The traffic to your business helped Sears, and the traffic to Sears helped your business, and everyone lived happily ever after until Sears went belly up. Slight footnote there. Anyway, so there was, of course, a regular schedule of catalog releases. Literally every month, and sometimes more than once a month, there was a catalog. So that's a lot of catalogs. And of course, you're there, you're taking people's orders, because in the beginning we were writing them out in longhand. You're seeing returns. You're flipping through the catalog when you're bored and didn't have anything else to do. And eventually it dawned on me, as much as there was always this cycle of more and better, new and improved, I could only eat off one plate at a time. I could only sleep on one set of sheets at a time, and so on with any other example you can think of. So we don't need the latest, greatest stuff. In some ways, we're almost like two-headed monsters. We pride ourselves on our ability, our creativity, our desire to help the planet by reusing and repurposing and not letting things from the past that still have value just be discarded. So there's that end of the spectrum. Then on the other end of the spectrum, oh my God, there's a new color of distress oxide. I must have it. So what if I have 48 other colors? I must have that one. That's BS, people. Honestly, that's BS. We don't need that. And so, so I said, don't be a slave to my tools, my schedule, or my history. So let me just talk a second or two about the others. I'm sorry about the tea drinking, but who wants cold tea? Not this kid. Okay, so tools. And then schedule. So back, I don't know, I don't even remember when this happened. I set out to do daily videos because I thought, well, that's one way to increase viewership, subscriptions, increase people's awareness that I even exist, and so on. After a while, I realized that it wasn't giving me, that daily schedule was not giving me any time to do anything else. And as much, and I've said this before too, if anyone would have told me that I'm going to grow to love doing videos, I would have said, you are one crazy fool. But yet it's true. I love doing videos. But I also know that too, taken to extreme, can mean that nothing much else ever gets done. You're either thinking of the idea, gathering up the stuff, doing it, posting it, responding to the comments, and keep the wheels in motion here, or maybe you have some time to be silent, to think, to do, to finish something you start. Like, what a concept is that? So don't be afraid to re-examine your schedule and schedule. And I also should say that I'm not assuming that everyone watching this video has a YouTube channel and is a creator. So, glean what you can from what I'm saying, if you so choose, if it makes sense to you. But the parts that maybe are more applicable to you than some of the other parts will depend on whether you have a YouTube channel and are a regular content creator. Okay, and then the other thing I said was history. At times in my life, I've been board members on some pretty significant boards, either private sector, government, not-for-profit, and so on. And one of the things, and this is also true of business, we know that there's a segment of mentality, or there's that segment of people with the mentality that, well, but we've always done it that way. So clearly, we're not looking at this idea from this new, fresh-faced, still green behind the ears? Is that how that goes? Green, whatever. You know what I mean. A newbie. This whippersnapper, I've been here for 35 years and I'm not gonna... Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make here is that just because we started out with one intention for our channel or our creative practice doesn't mean that we are wedded to it for life. We can change at any point. I'll talk in the context of being a creator. Chances are people are subscribing to our channels and watching our videos more because of our approach, our likability, our style, than because we've just invented the great new thing. There really aren't that many new ideas under the sun. So it's a rehash of what has already been done. Yes, with tweaks and improvements and dropping some steps and shortening others. But really, when was the last time anyone invented anything new? It doesn't happen that often. So if a viewer out there wants to learn how to make a pocket, this is not rocket science. If anyone had the one single true and only key to making a pocket, then we wouldn't have needed more than one video. So people are tuning in for the approach, the chatter, the responsiveness to comments, and so on. So you as a content creator, I as a content creator, can change my focus. I can spend less time showing how to do a 3-hole pamphlet stitch and more about the fun I'm having doing mixed media and working in a glue book. People are going to follow us. People are going to come along for the ride. And if we lose some people because they think, no, I don't care about glue books, that's okay too. We have to continue to make ourselves, to create joy for ourselves. The subscribers, the comments, the likes, the following, that's all gravy. Okay, number 6, avoid clicks. It's not junior high. Find friends, allies, kindred spirits, wherever they may be, and give more than you take. So, sometimes we get into this habit of, we only ever talk about so-and-so because, well, they're our best friend in grade 7. Well, let's be a little bigger than that. Let's understand that regardless of the number of subscribers we have, we can learn from almost anyone out there. And I think we owe it to ourselves to keep watching all kinds of people, whether they are, struggling with their 200 subscribers or whether they have 22,000 subscribers. We need to make our circle bigger, not smaller. I don't know how long I've been at this, but I feel like I need to speed up here. Okay, number 7, seek to offer a hand up to anyone who's a little behind me on the journey. We were all beginners once. We all remember those who were the kindest and most helpful. Don't forget the little people in my race to the top. So that is kind of golden rule kind of stuff. Nobody got to where they are in this creative realm or anywhere else in life or career or family or whatever existence without the help of others. And the more humility and gratitude that we can show for that, the better off we'll all be. I have a soft spot, and I will always have a soft spot for people who said something encouraging, who offered hope. To the person who bought my first journal, to the person who invited me to the first collab, to the person who sent me my first Happy Mail. These things matter. And, people are people. And as much as there's a lot of talk about how it's the greatest community ever, and oh my goodness, we know that there are some stinkers out there. We know there are some people who are very protective of what they're doing and what they're creating, and they're not going to give anything away for nothing. That's poor grammar. They're not going to give anything away freely. They're too big and far too important and busy to respond to piddly little you who dared to finally gather up your nerves and comment on a video. So don't you be expecting that. So we don't want to be those people. I don't want to be those people. I want to keep it's karma. I want to keep the thing going. I remember the first person who gave me a piece of ledger paper. So if I can give somebody their first piece of ledger paper, it feels like the circle is unbroken. And I don't know, that's just how I think. Okay, number 8, be authentic in all my behavior, whether anyone is looking or not. And I think that should kind of go without saying. It's, I think one of the comments that I routinely get from people is that they like tuning into my videos because I keep it real. Because I show you things like a plugged print nozzle. Because I show you a rip in something that I attempted to sew. And rather than editing and polishing and keeping the facade up that, oh, everything is perfect in this world, in my little realm here, and if you were more like me, you'd be perfect too. So there. I've been told by people that I'm the least pretentious person they've ever met. Now, and that's a matter of taste. I understand that not everyone is going to like my call a spade a shovel approach, that not everyone is going to appreciate the fact that I talk about stuff instead of sticking to business and creating something, damn it. But I truly believe that we all put on our pants one leg at a time, that we all have gifts, that we all have defects, that we all struggle and we triumph. And to try to convince anyone otherwise is perpetuating a lie. So I guess I would just say, think about the people that you love and admire most in your world. You know, whether it's a family member, whether it's a coworker, whether it's, you know, a role model that you've seen on, you know, wherever, not real life, someone you've never met, you know, TV, movies, books, the arts of some sort. We all have sort of heroes and role models that we look up to. And sometimes it's a huge stab in the heart when we find out that that public persona is not what the person is really like. They're rude, they're ignorant, they're egotistical, they are cruel, they are phony balonies, but it's all an act, it's all a facade. And a person can't help but feel like they've been taken, that they've been misled, that they've been sold a bill of goods. So isn't it better to just be who we are, you know, warts and all, to not mislead anyone by trying to convince them that, well, I have my act together. What the heck is wrong with you? Why aren't you? You know, like, what's up? Anyway, I'll stop beating that dead horse. Number 9, am I getting maximum benefit from my purchases from the time I'm investing? And of course, you know, my little document here has evolved from do this, to asking these sorts of rhetorical questions. And that, I think, is just a way to promote some, excuse me, some thinking. Now, purchases could mean, brand new. They could mean thrifted. They could mean digitals, so not necessarily a tangible thing. Am I caught up in the cycle of buying everything, every single thing that a certain famous YouTuber might put out there, when in fact I haven't used the 30 other kits that I bought from her? And that's just an example. I'm not going to name names, but I know that there are people that, and I was kind of falling down that slippery slope in the beginning too. Think, oh, so and so's kits are just so beautiful, and look what she did with them, and thinking, well, I need to have that. Well, no, I don't need to have that, because quite often it's not really my aesthetic. And when a person begins to get a better understanding of their own style and what I like versus what she likes, life becomes a lot simpler and more affordable as well. Yeah, I've got some digitals for sale. Of course, I would like people to buy them. But if they don't match what you like or the projects you're working on, you'd be foolish to buy them. Simple. And then the second part of that was from the time I'm investing. So I think we all spend our time in different ways. We spend it on different aspects of the business. If we are looking at it as a business. So I know, and I keep talking about it, but yet obviously I haven't convinced myself yet to change my behavior. So I can talk till the cows come home about I need to post more regularly on Instagram. I need to become a Facebook lover and a user of Facebook. I've been saying that for a long time. But when push comes to shove, that is not how I choose to spend my time. So I guess I need to do a bit of soul searching and decide, given that we all have a finite amount of time, and those of us that are as old as I am have less time than some of you young whippersnappers, I only have so much time. You only have so much time. Should I be spending it on Facebook, on Instagram, on trying to make more videos, on trying to create more product, in trying to find avenues for selling that product, in doing the thrift store circuit? And I'll tell you, I haven't been in a thrift store for weeks. And I don't know, so far nobody has phoned to say, Hazel, where are you? We haven't seen you for a while. But it's a choice that I've made. I don't want to bring more stuff home. And as much as it's escapism, and as much as I have loved some of the deals I've gotten over the years, is that a good use of my time? I don't know. Anyway, let's wind this thing up with point number 10. For this one, I'm saying reassess often. So we know that sometimes people do all that soul searching at the end of December, or maybe at the start of September when the kids are back in school and kind of a new year is beginning in that sense. So I'm a believer that we don't have to wait for any, it's Groundhog Day when I'm doing this. So does that mean that I only now, I don't have to do any of this until next February 2nd? Because, hey, that's when I do my best thinking. Reassess often. Why am I doing what I'm doing? Does it still bring me joy? And does it add value to someone else's life? I think those are the two big reasons for doing any of this. Does it bring me joy? Am I at my happiest, my most peaceful, my most fulfilled when I'm doing this stuff? And is it adding value to someone else's life? Is it helping someone else on their creative journey? Is it providing a finished product that someone else couldn't have created or wouldn't have wanted to take the time or maybe didn't have the skills or whatever? Is it providing a finished product that someone else is valuing and appreciating? So we're talking about what am I doing? So after we think about that, the next logical thing is, would a little teensy weensy tweak improve both of those things, the joy factor and the value added factor? Do I need to do a complete 180? Do I need to do more than a little tweak, but less than a major overhaul? I don't know the answer. I'm struggling to figure that out for myself and my situation and my desires and my time and so on. And I think only through thinking through this, to turning off all the white noise, can a person really listen to what their heart is saying. And the final thought I want to leave you with, and this is part of, my shtick, to put it in terms that are to the point where there's no misunderstanding. So my final question is, have I challenged myself lately, or am I content in the rut of my own making? We know that as human beings, we'll do our damnedest to avoid change, because with change comes fear of failing, fear of succeeding. It's a whole complex human behavior kind of a thing. So it's simpler to stick to the route we know when we're driving to town, to keep the friends that we've had for the last 25 years, even if our paths have diverged considerably. It is easier to do the same craft journaling projects, activities that we've always done. And I'm not passing judgment in any way, because everyone has to answer that for themselves. There is something to be said for being comfortable and for feeling safe and for not rocking the boat. But the flip side of that is that, do we want to continue to grow? Do we want to continue to evolve? Do we want to continue to use what we have around us? Again, I'm going back to tools and supplies, things that we've already paid for. Are we, if we take the time to dig beyond the obvious surface of what is around us, and if we find some of those long ago purchases or some of those ideas that we've neglected, will we be happier if we go out on a limb and if we try something new? Now, the other day, I had a medical appointment to keep. My husband ended up driving me in because our roads were impassable. And he would have been the one walking for help, going to get a tractor. I went to the art store in Edmonton. Thought I saved the box here. This stuff here, Artist Soft Pastels, 48 colors. This was the biggest assortment that they had. Oh, look at the dust on there. It was on sale. And you can be sure I'm going to try to save this box. Look at those cool little windows there. Anyway, I just opened this up yesterday, and I was glad to see that these are in 2 boxes with covers, because that would be a better way to contain it all. Have I ever used a soft pastel in my life? No, I haven't. Have I got sets of oil pastels that are like 100 years old? Yes, I do. I want to play with these. I want to take a risk using them. I want to add another tool to my mixed media, art journal, art practice, exploration. So that is what I intend to do. And I hope that when the time comes, you join me if you too are taking risks this year. I said that when this is over, I would tell you how to get this. Now, I did a lot of talking. How much time has gone by? Holy cow, 56 minutes. Okay, so what I have done, or by the time you see this, what I will do is put this document in my coffee shop as a freebie. Now, I think that, and certainly I hope you rush over there and get it. I think it can be a tool if you choose to use it that way. Or it can be something you tear up and turn into collage fodder. Or you can ignore me and don't go near my coffee shop. The choice is all yours. I'm just saying that if you found something here that you'd like to think more about or you'd like to be reminded of, this paper, this one pager, will exist there, free for the taking, as a reminder and as a stimulus for more thinking on your own. So I thank you so much for being here. I thank you for sticking it out to the end. I hope that I hope that you've enjoyed looking at my purple stuff. And yeah, we'll talk to you in the next one. Bye, guys.